The loudest voice in the room is usually the dumbest. What an example of this you have seen. You know the weirdos that show up at town hall meetings. Those voices. Edit. Thank you for the love. Jim Cramer. Ever been to a family dinner? Mr. All Caps himself, Donald Trump. Anyone who has ever worked retail or a customer-facing position will understand this. You as an employee have next to no power over anything apart from a bit of product knowledge too. Learning the basics of returns, exchanges. Any person who has worked in one of these positions can almost always count on at least once a week being faced with a colossal, screaming idiot who will fight tooth and nail over the most idiotic minutiae when they are dead wrong. I don't know if it stems from a need to be correct, narcissism, or from just plain stupidity that they can never concede in a fight. But it is at least a weekly occurrence in retail. My most recent example was when my partner and I were in Muji, an Asian-themed home goods and clothing store. The ambience of these stores are super chill, with diffusers going, soft music, and so on. As we were coming in, a woman was losing her mind on the cashier because a pair of socks scanned up at, let's call it $10 when they should have been $8. Numbers are made up because this was a month or so ago. She is arguing impressively that these socks scanned up wrong and they should be free. The cashier has the "what" look on her face and is calmly explaining that no, she can get a refund for the difference. This lady was not having it, seemingly pulling what she believed was the ultimate trump card. She shouted, "Well, other stores have policies where they give you the wrong scanned item for free." Quote. The cashier again, without a breaking a sweat, said, "Well, that isn't our policy. I can either refund you the difference, refund you the whole thing, or you keep it as it is." This loop went on for much longer than it had to before the angry customer relented, visibly disturbed that this made-up policy did not exist at Muji. I will add that she was talking, yelling so that the entire store could hear. Of course, instead of calmly discussing the issue and taking the solution like a normal adult. Ariel Winter being convinced Lance Armstrong was an astronaut. Right fucking here, Reddit my dude. Anti-vaxxers. We had a few die-hard crazies who gather in a park every weekend and yell utter nonsense into a microphone about the Illuminati, China, and how we are headed to becoming a police state. Keep in mind this was last year when all restrictions were being lifted. When I wore a Nirvana shirt to work and this dude came up to me and said I probably didn't know any Nirvana, yet it's my favorite band. Congress. You'll notice that the ones who are the dumbest are the ones who are physically the loudest. It's almost as if they think being loud will make them right. Skip Bayless. Finding out everyone on the internet is suddenly an expert in the operation, design, and recovery of deep submergence vehicles has certainly been an eye-opener. Sophomore year. Honors biology in high school. Teacher was talking about vestigial structures, or body parts that aren't as useful as they used to be due to evolution. She used male nipples as the example for humans. Note: I'm aware that male nipples are largely not considered to be vestigial, as men only lactate under very extreme conditions. Kid confidently raises his hand and goes, "No, that isn't true. Because when I squeeze my nipple, white stuff comes out." The silence that followed was truly something else. Every class in every public school ever. Edit. For everyone saying, the teacher. Teachers speak the most. They are rarely loudest. Edit. Dear Reddit. I never thought that this would happen to me. For those of you who didn't read Penthouse magazine forums in the 70s. That comment is probably lost on you. I'm amazed that I've been here for a few years and got this many upvotes for this comment. I'm sure that there have been a number of studies around this. I recall reading about one some years ago that I haven't been able to find. The basic premise is that small groups were set up in a controlled situation and given the task of coming up with some kind of a business plan. They had people observe the interactions and identify who they thought were leaders. And inevitably it was the people that spoke first and/or loudest that were perceived as leaders who helped guide the team to a correct solution to this fairly subjective problem. The twist was that the study was also replicated with the groups given the task to solve a mathematical problem. Again, the loud ones were perceived as the ones who led the group to the right answer, even though in this case the answer was often objectively incorrect. Having worked in the business world for many years, I can say that I've seen many people who are in positions of leadership, management solely because they were loud, assertive and confident, despite being wrong. Marjorie Taylor Greene. My ex-husband. We couldn't discuss anything. His answer to every problem was just to scream over me until he got his way. I work loss prevention. I arrested a guy once, who when he was searched by police and had his meth taken, shouted, "Give me back my crystal meth," at the top of his lungs. So probably that. Or, along similar lines, he who laughs last laughs best, but he may get a reputation for being a little slow on the uptake. Me. College anthropology class. Age 19. About 5 minutes into day 1. The teacher opened the floor for any questions, no matter how dumb you may think they sound, about biology, anatomy, anthropology, science in general, just to get the class comfortable with asking questions and breaking the ice. People timidly asked questions like, "How old is the universe?" "What kind of butterflies were common in ancient Egypt?" This dummy here voluntarily stood up. Nobody else did. Even the teacher was on a stool. And theatrically asked just why the heck male mammals have nipples. Everyone turned and stared at me and began laughing. The teacher was like, okay. Do you have an actual question?" Quote, "Lady. That was my question. I grew up in charter schools, which means little to no regulation on the math and science classes I had to take. I'd literally never taken a science class beyond 6th grade, and even then, we never went into nipples because the conservative Christians running my school wouldn't have had that. I really thought most people were wondering, like I was. Lol. I'm aware it wasn't my fault and it wasn't that dumb of a question. But for a college-level anthro class, yeah. Now when people are like, "No question is too dumb," I'm like, "Oh yeah?